Donald Trump may be publicly praising Pakistani Field Marshal Asim Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, while at the same time threatening India with tariff, sanctions over Russian oil, and even indirectly funding the Ukraine war. But beyond these headlines, the United States just cleared a massive $428 million defense support package for India. The deal includes support for India's Apache attack helicopters and M777 ultralight Howitzers, two of the most important battlefield systems currently used by the Indian military. And the timing matters, because this comes at a moment when Washington is desperately trying to manage multiple crises at once. There's Ukraine, there's Iran, there's China, the Indo-Pacific, and a deeply unstable West Asia. Which means one thing: for all the noise around Pakistan, the Trump administration still sees India as strategically indispensable. Let's be precise. This is not a new weapons purchase. The US State Department is clear about that. This is a military sustainment package, a long-term support, maintenance, training, technical assistance, and logistics for hardware that India already owns. The first is the $198.2 million for the AH-64E Apache attack helicopter sustainment. Boeing and Lockheed Martin are the principal contractors in that case. The second is $230 million for M777E2 ultra-light howitzer support. BAE Systems, based in the UK, leads that contract. Together, the total comes to $428.2 million. This is not about selling brand new weapons platforms. This is about keeping India's existing frontline systems combat ready for years. And the US State Department has said this very, very clearly. According to Washington, the deal is meant to strengthen the India-US strategic partnership and support India as what it calls an important force for political stability, peace, and economic progress in the Indo-Pacific and South Asia. Now, that wording matters because this is not just about helicopters and artillery guns. This is about strategy. This is about China. And increasingly, this is also about Pakistan. Look closely at the systems involved here. The M777 ultralight howitzers became hugely important for India after the Galwan clash with China in 2020. These artillery guns are specifically designed for mountainous terrain. They are lightweight, can be airlifted quickly, ideal for deployment along the line of actual control with China. Now, in other words, these are weapons built for high altitude warfare. Then come the Apache attack helicopters. These are among the deadliest attack helicopters in the world. Precision strike capability, advanced sensors, night fighting ability. India has already deployed Apache helicopters along both the Pakistan and the China fronts. So let's be very clear here. These are not ceremonial weapons. These are operational combat platforms tied directly to India's military preparedness against its two biggest security threats. And America knows that perfectly well. Which brings us to the Pakistan angle, because the timing of this defense approval is politically fascinating. Over the last several months, the Trump administration has appeared unusually warm towards Pakistan. Trump has repeatedly praised Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir, almost to an uncomfortable extent. Remember, this is the same Asim Munir who made deeply provocative remarks invoking the two-nation theory shortly before the 2025 Pahalgam terror attack in Kashmir that saw 26 tourists murdered in front of their families. Munir had publicly urged Pakistanis to teach their children that they were different from Hindus and called Kashmir Pakistan's jugular vein. And yet today here we are. This same Asim Munir has become Trump's favorite military strongman. In September 2025, Munir and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif visited the White House together. Trump showered praise on them, called them great leaders, fantastic people, language rarely used so openly by an American president, especially for Pakistani leadership. Pakistan, unsurprisingly, has amplified every bit of that praise domestically and internationally. And from India's perspective, this naturally has raised concerns, especially because this all happened around the same period when Trump projected himself as a peacemaker during Operation Sindoor. And while he was doing that, he simultaneously threatened India with tariffs and sanctions for continuing to buy Russian oil. So at one level, the messaging from Washington appeared deeply contradictory. On one hand, there was public warmth towards Pakistan. On the other hand, continued strategic military cooperation with India. And then there was the rhetoric coming from parts of the Trump administration. Comments from figures like Peter Navarro, Howard Lutnick, Scott Bessent created enormous discomfort in India. The tone became unusually coarse. At times, these people were openly dismissive, and references to India using derogatory language crossed diplomatic red lines for many in New Delhi. Which is why many in India have begun asking the difficult question, has Washington started tilting back towards Pakistan? But this latest defense package gives us a more realistic picture of American strategic thinking, because the truth is simple: India is too important for the United States to ignore. Despite disagreements over Russia, despite India refusing to join any formal military alliances, despite New Delhi's strategic autonomy, the US-India partnership continues to deepen across defense, trade, technology, and even critical minerals. India still buys Russian oil. India still maintains legacy defense ties with Moscow. India refuses to become a treaty ally, and yet Washington continues expanding defense cooperation anyway. Why? Because America understands a hard geopolitical reality. In any long-term strategy aimed at balancing China in the Indo-Pacific, India is indispensable. Not optional, indispensable. That is the core reality shaping US policy today. So while Pakistan may currently be receiving diplomatic attention, symbolic praise, photo ops, India continues receiving strategic military integration. And there is a big difference between the two. The broader trend also confirms this. US-India defense trade has now crossed $20 billion, making America one of India's top arms suppliers alongside Russia and France. The list keeps growing. GE fighter jet engine cooperation, Predator drones, Javelin missiles, Excalibur artillery projectiles. The defense relationship is becoming deeper, wider, and far more institutionalized. But India also understands something important. Trump's foreign policy style is highly transactional and often unpredictable. Today, India may remain strategically indispensable. Tomorrow, who knows, Washington's tone could shift again. Which is why New Delhi continues pursuing what it calls strategic autonomy. Not dependency, not alignment, autonomy. And perhaps that is the biggest takeaway from this entire story. Because while Trump may publicly praise Pakistan's favorite field marshal, American strategic policy still quietly treats India as one of the central pillars of the Indo-Pacific balance of power. And this $428 million defense package is yet another reminder of that reality. This is Times Axis, where global stories meet India's perspective. Click on the bell icon to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned.